Okay, we're up to Mem Aleph Hamid Beis, all the way at the bottom, all the Tan Rabbanan, two words in the bottom. And we're discussing the union of Havchana, that one should wait 3 months before remarrying. Tan Rabbanan, Yevamot shecholzu lo achim, meaning one of the brothers gave a chalitza, b'toich shloisha. We said Yibum and chalitza, you're supposed to wait till after 3 months of the death of the husband. That's what you're supposed to do. In this case, they didn't wait. He gave chalitza in the middle of shalosh. Nonetheless, tzrichim lahatim shlosh chadashim. She has to wait 3 months. Until 3 months, she can't. In other words, you're supposed to give it after 3 months. He gives it within 3 months. You still have to wait after 3 months to remarry. Lacha gimel. If he gives chalitza after gimel, ain't tzrichim lahatim chadashim. In other words, the clock doesn't start ticking by the chalitza. The clock starts ticking by the death of the husband. Again, when it comes to chalitza, the clock starts ticking at the death of the husband. It doesn't start by chalitza. So you're supposed to give chalitza after 3 months. If you give chalitza within 3 months, you still have to wait till after 3 months. But once you give chalitza after 3 months, you do not have to wait. Why? The 3 months that we said that you have to wait, the clock starts ticking on the death of the Yavam, the death, rather than of the Baal, rather than what the Chalitza of the Yavam. Now, Maishna we get, right? The Rav Omar, Mishas Nesino Shmuel Mishas K'tuba. Rav says, by get, you go after the time it was given. So let's viewing Chalitza as a get, just as a get takes off Kiddushin, it cuts the relationship. So to Chalitza, it goes ahead and severs the Zika. So we can see the parallel between a get and Chalitza very easily. By get, just the clock starts ticking not upon when the husband stops living with her. It starts upon the Nesina of the get, according to Rav. Masha'en Kain, by Chalitza, we're going to go after what? The time of the death of the husband. What's the difference? L'chayra, you should go after the time of the chalitza. In other words, you should have to wait 3 months after chalitza. You should have to wait 3 months after chalitza. I'm another kal v'chaymer. It's a kal v'chaymer why you don't have to wait 3 months after chalitza. Is a chorus hitarta. Is the chorus the yavam? If the yavam, if 3 months he's able to go ahead miyad immediately. Rashi says this the chorus the yavam. In other words, if you wait 3 months upon the death of the husband, when does Yibum perform, guys? 3 months later. So we know that if she's pregnant, then there's an Issachorus. If she's not pregnant, then there's a mitzvah Yibum. So le'inyan the mitzvah, all you have to wait is 3 months after the death of the husband. Certainly, the chalitza, the lav of letting a Yevamot go the shuk, right, without anything, after 3 months. It says the Gemara, kal v'chaymer, that you go from the shas misa and not the nesinus of the chalitza. Kal v'chaymer is the kursi tarti after 3 months. Is the lav like kol shekain, the is of Yevamot shuk like kol shekain should be after 3 months, and therefore, after the death of the husband, that's when it counts, not after the ma'isa chalitza, but after the death of the husband. V'chein shar kol hanoshim. We said, well, this din of yibum and chalitza and havchana was not just it's by any woman. We had different shittas in the Mishnah, just to recall. Look back to the Mishnah and then Aleph, guys, just for a second. It says v'chein, the din of yibum which we discussed. V'chein kol shar hanoshim le'yisarsu, they should not accept kiddushin. V'le'yinasu, they should not enter into a marriage and to live with the husband. Achiyu le'shalosh chadashim, to lay 3 months. They have to wait 3 months. And then the Mishnah says a bunch of lashonos, which we'll get into in a second. But right now, it's enough to say that this din of avchana applies to all women. According to the Tana, it applies to all women. Now, what's the reason? Now, bishleim by yibum, you got a problem, guys. What's the problem? You may be, if she's pregnant and you live with her, you're over a chi of kares because you're with Eishasach. But regular woman, why should you wait? A woman's an almana. Why should you marry her? There's no isha of Eishas ish anymore. A woman gets a get. Why should you wait? There's no Mishnah of Eishas ish anymore. So why is there an avchana where there is no worry about the erva? There's no worry about being boiled in erva. Like by Yevamot, there's a worry the chashash being boiled in erva. Why do you have to wait? Says the Gemara, I'll tell you why you have to wait. Says the Gemara, like you said, you have to figure out whether he's boiling eshes achanat. If she's pregnant and he's with her, he's going to have to tsaris. So therefore, that's why you have to wait. Elashar kol noshim amai. Why are you waiting? And for the Gemara, Amrav Nachman, Shmuel, something that you all said, what's the Gemara's kasha? You figured it out. Of course, you have to wait. You have to know who the father of the child is, and you have to know who the father of the child is. He says the Gemara, Mishum the Amakra. The pasuk says. The pasuk by Yevamot Avinu, it says, I'll establish my bris between you and my children, your grandchildren, so in other words, I'm going to establish my bris with your zera, the zera that you know is your zera. No, the zera who knows its father, is. This is the sheet of Shmuel. Now what does it mean? There's an inyan of the Shechina being shayra on people who know where they come from. It says Rashi, the Shechina shayra. The Shechina is not shayra. This again, Kadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu, "V'kimaisi es brisi." I'll establish my bond, my covenant, which we're going ahead and saying this is the equivalent of Hashras Hashchina, having the countenance of Kadosh Baruch Hu upon us. Ella al havadoyim, you know havadoyim shezaru miyuchas achrav, that they're your children. V'achanami kaim lo b'nedarim. So therefore, it has to be that what you know the child is. Shmuel says it's the pasuk. The hasra shashchina v'kimaisi as brisi will be zarecha acharecha. They know who the zera is. Therefore, you have to wait because you may not know. If you don't wait, you don't know if it's not 7 months from the previous father or 9 months from the 9 months from the previous father or 7 months from the latter husband. Masav Rabbi asked the fikach ger v'giyaris tzrichim lahamtim gil chadashim. A ger has to wait also 3 months. They never married somebody else. In other words, you have John and Christina, who become Yankel and Penina, right? At least rhymes a little bit. So then they go ahead and they never live with anybody else. She's been a fine woman, never lived with anybody else. So now, why do you have to wait 3 months after the Megayah? If it's to go ahead and establish who the father's from, you know exactly who it's from, right? So why would you have to wait 3 months in that scenario? Says, what havchana is there when you know who exactly it is? You want to know exactly which point in time did conception take place. Did it take place when she was a Goyita, or did it take place when she was a Yid? That's the havchana over here. So by a regular person, the havchana is to know who the father is because the Shechina is to be shayra, and according to Rava, it has nothing to do with a pasuk, guys. It has everything to do with Rava's question. Rava's question is Geiris, and he answers that as well, that you have to know the difference between where it comes from. But Rava, he suggests that's Rava answering the question on Shmuel from Geiris. Rava has his own opinion. Rava Amar, maybe you'll go ahead if you don't know who the father is. But if you don't know who the father is, you might come to go ahead and marry what? Marry your maternal sister, or v'yibim eshes achiv me'imoy v'yotzes imoy l'shuk. If you have the book, just for a second, let's take a quick look. It's a pretty easy case on page 220. So Bathsheba was married to Uriah. Uriah dies. Bathsheba does not wait. Marries David. I guess it's very applicable. And they have Yisrael was certainly a child between Uriah and Bathsheba. And Yisrael is a suffix who the father is. Is Uriah the father or David's the father? So you have to wait 3 months because what are you worried about? You're worried that what? That if Yisrael might come to marry, if Uriah had an other wife, right? He may come to marry his sister from the same father. They're different mothers, Bathsheba and that other woman, but they may have the same father. So you worry that concern. That's If you don't know where he came from, you're worried you might be marrying what? His sister. His sister, paternal sister. Another case is Vayibim Eishes Achiv Me'imai. Let's say if she has another child from David, she has a child from David, but that's Vadai David's child. Yisrael does Yibum to go and Isacheres, and then he dies, and there's a wife. Yisrael does Yibum, and it could be he's been Miyabim in the Sakaris, because it could be what, a maternal sister, not a paternal. It could be a maternal brother, not a paternal brother. It's only a paternal brother if Yisrael was the David's son. If Yisrael was Uriah's son, then there is no din of Yibum, but there would have been a din of Eshesach. Guys, you got it? In other words, where Yisrael is situated, it looks like he's David's son. That's a suffix. That's a suffix. He could be Uriah's son. If he's Uriah's son and the Ben Acher is David's son, there is no din of Yibum, because it's not paternal brothers. And we'll end up going ahead. They have maternal. They're both Batsheva's child, and he's going to end up going ahead and doing Yibum in that situation. Okay, let's see it in the Gemara. Says the Gemara, you won't need the book anymore this evening. Rabbi says it's not a pasuk that you should know the Zera Achrecha. Rabbi Megazeir Shemayises Achaisam Yaviv. You may come to marry your paternal sister, or V'yibim Me'eshes Achiv Me'imo. You may come to Yibum to a maternal brother, not a paternal brother. And as a result, might be the mother goes to the shuk without any Yibum. V'yifter as Yivimter the shuk. Masrav Chananya. B'kulan Kaira Behen. In all the cases, all the cases that of all these notions that are asur chacham to marry olim siabim, kairani, I go ahead and why do I apply the following din? Mishum takonis erva. You're going to go ahead and fix the erva. That you don't want to come to an erva. The kan mishum takonis vlad, and over here it's for the kan of the vlad. Then isa. And if you're telling me that that maybe he's going to marry his maternal sister, his paternal sister, this also would be takanas erva. As you're telling me all the cases that are us that do have chana is the course of the erva. So, for example, the reason why by Yevamot you worry about the erva, maybe he's being boiled. I'm just giving you one example. If you don't wait 3 months by Yevamot and she happens to be pregnant, and the brother lives, he's going to be living with his brother's wife. So the takana there of waiting 3 months was the mishum of the erva, the concern you may be boiling an erva. Over here, but this case was saying the reason why we did this takana was ascertain who the father was was to be mataken the Vlad. But according to you, Rava, the way you're explaining it, it also is an inyan of erva. You want to avoid a person marrying his paternal sister, correct? So also it's an inyan of erva. So what do you mean that this latter case was only to be attacking the Vlad? L'chayra, it's also an inyan of erva. That's the question. Says the Gemara, "Hai mishum takana Vlad leipagabu erva." This is what it means by the Vlad. It means that you want to go ahead and to save him from being paigeya be'erva. That you're being paigeya the Vlad from being paigeya be'erva, which would be his paternal sister, because he thought he came from a totally different woman with a totally different man. Okay, now the Gemara goes through a mathematical cheshbon. You have to wait 3 months, guys. It says you have to wait 3 months. Okay, I have to go look up. The Gemara got very small over here. Bishlema, it says that tamtim, you have to wait shnei chadoshim betinasei after 2 months. I understand why. The hainu sreika, that you want to know it's whether it's 7 and 2 is 9 or a full 9. Iba tisha lekama, iba shiva lebasra. So I know why you can't get married after 2 months for sure. Ella tamtim chodesh echad. Why don't you wait 1 month? V'tinasei. Let's do the math. Go ahead, wait 1 month and get married. V'ila shiva, if it's going to be a 7th-month child, yolda hai bar shiva lebasrahu. This is the what certainly. If it gives birth in the 7th, you waited what? You waited a month. So 7 months later, after that month, you gave birth. It's a 7. V'ila timnaya. Or 8 months after that month that gives birth, it's a 9. So Hari by Tisha Lakama. So in other words, why do you have to wait 3 months? Just wait 1 month. If it gives birth in the 8th month, it's going to be a 7, right? It's going to be a 7. If it gives birth in after 7 and a month, it's an 8. or 8, then it's 8 and 1. You waited 1 month. So you waited 1 month, 7 months later, it's a full 7. It can't be an 8 month. 8 months die. 8 months die. Again, guys, the given of the Gemara is that a 7-month lives and a 9 months lives. An 8th month dies. So if it's a viable child in the 8th month, after you waited a month, it's Vadai 7. If you waited a month and it's 8 months later, right, then it's a 9. So why do you have to wait 3 months? You could have done it with 1 month. That's the Gemara's kasha. And for the Gemara, inami l'tnai yolda, right? Even if you give birth in the 8th month, you don't have a raya that it's the first man's husband. Why? Shikla mema the basrahu. Maybe it's the second husband, and maybe she get pregnant right away. Maybe she only got pregnant what? She only got pregnant after a month. In other words, what's the Gemara's kasha? Says the Gemara. If you, just because you're giving birth in the 8th month, it's not a raya that it's 8 plus 1. Maybe it's a 7. And she didn't get pregnant right away. Your assumption is because she had to get pregnant right away. So maybe she didn't get pregnant right away. So maybe it's a 7. So you have no raya. Okay. Don't wait a full 3 months. Wait 2.5 months. V'tinasei marry. The ila shiva yolda is hariba shiva lebasrahu. If it gives birth after 7 months, it's right. It's the latter person's child. The ila shisho palga yolda, and if it gives birth at 6.5, 6.5 and 2.5, it's what? It's a 9. In other words, you're getting married 2.5, right? If she gives birth at 7 months, it's a 7th month. If she gives birth at 6.5, then a 7, then it's what? Then it's a 9. You'll know it's a 9. It's a full-fledged 9. It's 2.5 plus 6.5, right? The 2.5 that you waited and the 6.5 that she gave birth is a 9. So why wait a full 9? You could do it what in 2.5. And for the Gemara, no, I got a good teretz to that. Inami l'shisa palga yolda. If you give birth at 6.5, it could be still a 7. Why? Because even though we say a woman does not give birth in like gestation cycle has to be full, that's only by a 9 month does it have to be full. 8.5 doesn't work. 9 works. 6.5 works by a 7. A 7-month pregnancy could give birth. The lashon is limikutoyin, cut off. It could even work. Where do you learn it out from? You learn it from Shmuel Haramasi. You learn it from Chana. It says the inami the shisa palga yolda ikla mema lebasrahu. It can be the child of the second husband. Dam amar zucha afilu man dama yoledes the tisha eni yoldes limikutoyin, that a full 9-month pregnancy cannot be shorter than 9 months. Yoldu l'shiva yoledes limikutoyin. One that's 7th month pregnancy could be cut off. Mikutoyin means cut off, means it doesn't have to be full. Like Shenema, of course, it says by Yehilat Kufas Hayamim. It was the Tkufas Yamim. Now, guys, outside, we know how many Tkufas are there. There's 4 Tkufas. So each Tkufas is 3 months. So Tkufais will be 6 months. Good. Yamim, right? Yamim would be what? Days. So it says the Gemara. Shenemar, it says by Shmuel, by Yehilat Kufas Hayamim, the Darshan Tkufais Heim Shtayim, that's 6 months. Umiyad Yamim is Shnayim. So that's what? That's after 6 months and 2 days. That Shmuel was born after 6 months and 2 days. So we have a raya that a child that's born 7th month does not have to be a full gestation cycle of 7. It can even be shorter. So your 8s of 2.5 to be mavara, the be mavchin, the status of the child, who the father is not going to work unless you do 3 months. It's not going to work if you do 1 month. It's not going to work if you do 2 months. It's not going to work if you do 2.5 months. It's only going to work if you do 3 months. Says the Gemara, v'tamtim mashahu. Okay, wait a week or 2 weeks. Rashi says, wait a week or 2. V'tinasei, and then get married. V'chimalu shleisha chadashim. And we said earlier, guys, you remember pregnancy is recognizable after 3 months, correct? Now we said you go after Roiv Nashim, and this person was the Roiv was weakened because most women give birth after 9. So we wanted to know this whole sugya. Why don't you go after Roiv? The Roiv says most women are 9 and not 7. So go after Roiv. And we said, since this woman wasn't recognizable within 3 months, it weakened the roiv. That was what we said. This is by Ruba. But if you wait a little bit, it seems to be there was a way of checking without being recognizable, checking an examination of a woman's dadim, her breasts. If you go ahead and check her dadim, you're able to tell the milk begins to form at that time. So therefore, if the milk is forming at that time, obviously it's going to be what? It's going to be, after 3 months, it's going to be a 9-month pregnancy. So you'll know. It says the Gemara, and if you see that she's pregnant, then vadai, she's pregnant from the first husband. Vadai, she's pregnant from the first husband. If she's married to the second husband, you're not going to do this type of intimate bedika shaloi yisganu al baila. That will go ahead and stir the shalom bias. They'll make her detrimental. Like all of a sudden, they'll put ideas in the guy's head about his previous wife. That maybe this is not his child. It's not a good thing. V'nivdeka behilucha. Let's go check the way she walks. Rashi says something fascinating, that a woman that's pregnant, if she walks on sand, her foot is heavier, and you'll be able to see the way, he says it's from the Chuvas Agoinim. You'll be able to see from the imprint in the ground that is deeper than the normal woman. I don't know how they do this. They have to get a woman of equal weight and equal pressure. I mean, one of the things. Okay, so now it's there's in other words, this is a much less personal exam that would not cause the husband to be slighted and view his wife in a negative way. So, in other words, we're going and exhausting. This is the study of Havchana. Exhausting. You said it's 3 months and zehu, and that's it. Every single woman, no different, nothing. And we're trying to say why. Wait a week or two. Good, I can't do this external exam. It'll go ahead and make a husband view her a certain way. But there's an external exam. Check. Go ahead. Spread some sand out and go ahead and put it and go ahead and check the footprints. Fascinating. Says the Gemara. Okay, well, that's not going to work either. Says the Gemara. Fed the Gemara v'tamtem mashu v'tinase. Okay, says the Gemara. Go ahead and check the ground as she walks. Again, that's the sand trap. Rav Chama says you can't do that because Isha mechafa atzma, a woman will hide her pregnancy. She's able to somehow. This is not a very, very scientifically. Really, it's not such a clarity, right? So she'd be able to hide it. Now, she's married to a second guy. She wants that the child should be the second husband. She wants to ensure that he will get a Yerusha. So this test is not going to work. She's going to be able to, they used to doctor have somebody else's urine, those tests, when the athletes, they do that, they're able to do this as well. Okay, says the Gemara Vaita. And Heichi de Kimle de Muberesi, let's say we know for sure she was pregnant from the first husband. So Tinase, let her marry before 3 months. Alamatanya, Layisa Adam Muberes, Mechavero, Menekas Chavero, the Nasa Yosef Liachser Lamas. We had this come up earlier, right? If a woman's nursing, right, she loses her husband, she's nursing, you can't marry her because we're worried about the milk going bad. And if she's pregnant, you can't go ahead and marry her. So why not? If the whole reason of Avchana is to ascertain the father, we know the father is over here. So what's the reason a pregnant woman can't get married? What's the reason? The Gemara answers, Gezeira Shema, we're worried, Tase Ubra Sandal. Now, I don't know how this works, but it seems a woman that's pregnant could get pregnant again. Now, we know that women who are pregnant generally don't get pregnant again, but it seems that there was such a concept that a pregnant woman could get pregnant again. And if she does, that the baby will make the face of the other baby a sandal. A sandal is a sandal, it'll flatten the face. In other words, because the pressure of one's foot going into the other one. So therefore, don't do that. So therefore, that's the reason why you have to wait 3 months. The day also, the day nami he should not go ahead and live with her even after 3 months. In other words, if you why could you get married after 3 months if you're worried about a sandal? Says even man the Omar, says the Gemara that in other words, why by a regular case, if your wife is pregnant, how are you able to live with her? If that's your concern, that you're waiting, that she shouldn't marry because you're worried about this happening, that it possibly make it a sandal, so how can a married man with a pregnant wife ever live with her? Why aren't you concerned about what? About re-impregnating your wife, and then it's going to make your child a sandal. So I'm worried about that. So the Gemara says, we had this Gemara in Daf Yomi on the base, says the Gemara, well, there are 3 women who could be mishamish b'moich. This was his contraceptive sponge. And one of them was what? Was a pregnant woman. B'moich. V'yilaman da'amam hashemayim yirachmu. There was a mishamayim, right? That Shaibi Pesayim Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will watch out. So Achanami, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will watch out. So Fred Gemara Kashle, Achanami here as well, by waiting, why, if you know the woman's pregnant and you're worried about a sandal, the same reason you could live with your wife when she's pregnant, someone who we should be able to marry her and live with her, because he can go ahead and use the same preventative measures as you do. You can mishamish b'moch, this sponge, or it's a marriage that was Kedas Moshe B'Yisrael, and the Kodesh Baruch will go ahead and watch you the same way. We'll watch this marriage the same way he watches your marriage. So we're back to the original question: why can't a pregnant woman go ahead and remarry? Why do you have to wait 3 months? Ella, what's the reason? Why you can't marry a muberes of your friend? Mishum de chasa. It seems that b'shas tashmish, when they have relations, the man is pressing on the woman's body, and might hurt the child. Says the Hachi, did they also nami? Why aren't you worried that what you're pressing on and hurting your child? Says well, no, did they chayes alava? He's going to be careful because he has Rahman, it's his child. Says nami chayes alavei. He's going to be careful as well. So this doesn't explain why a man can't marry, has to wait with a pregnant woman. Ella, what's the reason? Istamu beres l'meinika kaima. Stamu beres what will go? Eventually, it's going to nurse, and you're worried about the milk going bad. Says the Gemara, v'dilma i'abra. Maybe when she marries the second person, she'll get pregnant. And her milk will go bad. The cut will lay, and she'll kill the child. Says the Gemara, that's what you're worried about. So he says the Gemara, you see, he came marry a pregnant woman because why? Because he's going to go ahead and be mishamish with her and she'll get pregnant from him, and he'll go ahead and ruin the milk. As well by us. Why aren't you worried that the whole time a woman's nursing or pregnant, you should be able to live with her because the milk's going to go bad? Says Gemara, even if the milk goes bad by us, we'll go ahead and feed her, bebetzim, either with eggs, v'cholav, or milk. Says Gemara, Nami also. Nami misameses lo bebetzim v'cholav. Says Gemara, lo yavle. He's not going to give. Lo yitin abal l'shen. The second husband is not going to give because he's not sure the child it's the child of the first husband. So again, the question is, if she's pregnant, why can't you go ahead and get married? The answer is he's not going to go ahead and take care of the child. It says v'litvina liyarshim. So let it be taveid from the yarshim of the Baal, mizainas to take care of the child. Isha busha love bezdin. She's embarrassed to go to bezdin, and vayreges espino. As a result, the child will die. So therefore, a man can't marry menekes or umuberes. You're concerned about the child's condition. Fascinating. Okay, go back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah seems to be very, very, very redundant. Okay, the Mishnah Mem Aleph. What does the Mishnah say? Oh no, that's not the Mishnah I wanted. How about going back to that is the Mishnah. So the Mishnah says, "V'chein kol shar nashim lo yisarsu v'lo yinasu ad sheyu l'shlosh chadashim echad besulais." Now, how are you a besula married? It must be just erisin. It must be you accepted erisin, which is marriage. The echad beulais. When is a woman not a virgin anymore? Obviously, when she was a nesua. So apparently, when you said yisarsu v'lo yinasu, you're just repeating basically when you said besula and beula, you're repeating that. So it doesn't appear to be different women. It appears to be the same woman. So the lashon of the Mishnah seems to be redundant. That's the Gemara's kasha. Let's see the Gemara inside. Says the Gemara. Achas besulas v'achas bulasai. Haininu besulos, v'haininu arusais. Who are besulos and who are arusais? Haini abulos, v'haininu suais. Some of you who dachi kamar. Achas besulos v'achas bulos. Shenis almalu, that they either husband died, oishin iskashu, or they're divorced. When bein mina erisin, and the marriage was never consummated. Bein mina nesuin, and the marriage was consummated. No matter what whatever the condition is, this woman has to wait. According to the Tanakama, has to wait what? Has to wait 3 months. Now we saw Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda said an Erison doesn't have to 3 months, and Rabbi Yossi said an Almana only waits because of Avelis. Rabbi Loz says Rabbi Loz lo yolbe midrash. Rabbi Loz didn't come to the base medrash. Ashkel Rav Asi found Rav Asi and Amalei. What chiddush did I miss in the base medrash today? So Amalei Hachi Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Halach Rabbi Yossi. The halach is like Rabbi Yossi, that a woman that's an arusa, meaning that she never lived with her husband, does not have to wait 3 months because we don't have to worry about her pregnancy. Argument on the Tanakama. Again, the Tanakama stated unequivocally that even a arusa, a basula, has to wait 3 months. Says Rabbi Yossi, she doesn't have to wait 3 months because the whole reason is to be mavkin about the zera of this child, or the concern of what, according to Rabbi's concern, right, about yichus, where there's no those two concerns don't exist, because the father is going to be the second husband, you don't have to wait. And says Rabbi Yochanan, the great Rabbi Yochanan, the greatest Amoira in the history of the world, that we pass like him all the time, except 3 times, right? We have Machlekes Reish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan, the 3 times, you all know the 3 times we pass him, right? The one in this Masechta, where the Chalitza Psula is good Chalitza, Rabbi Yochanan says it is, Reish Lakish says it's not. That was one of the times. So here the halacha says Rabbi Yochanan is like Rabbi Yossi. So Rabbi Yochanan passed like Rabbi Yossi, that an arusa does not have to wait 3 months. Now, okay, guys, let's speak it out. One thing we know for sure: machlokes yochid v'rabim, the halacha is like the rabbim. Machlokes the majority and the minority, we're always going to pass like the majority. Rabbi would go ahead and he will say a mishnah anonymously. What anonymous usually means is it's the chachamim. It's usually the chachamim, and therefore the anonymous mishnah is the opinion of the majority of the mefarshim. So our mishnah, we have a statement of the Tanakama. It doesn't say who it was, and it says that no woman can remarry before 3 months. No woman, even an arusa. Comes along Rabbi Yossi and says no, a woman can marry. Comes along Rabbi Yochanan and says the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi. Now we have a rule that halacha Rabbi Yossi is nemuka imoy. The laws are with Rabbi Yossi. That's only when he argues with an individual. When he's arguing with a majority, then the nemuka imoy, that klal doesn't apply. But we apply that machlokes yochid v'rabim halacha kirabim. Over here, obviously, we have to say then that the stam anonymous opinion of the Tanakama must have been an individual, because how could Rabbi Yochanan paskin connected the rabbim, guys? In other words, we have an anonymous saying that what? No woman can remarry until 3 months are up. We have this clearly. Comes along, Rabbi Yossi says a woman could marry. Says Rabbi Yochanan, the halacha is like what? Like Rabbi Yossi. So it must be the opinion that Rabbi Yossi is arguing with must be an individual, not a rabbin. Good? Or else we wouldn't say the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi. That's what the Gemara is going to state. And the Gemara is going to seek and find who is that individual that hold that no woman can remarry until wait 3 months. Okay? That's what it says the Gemara. There must be the one who argues must be a yachid, not a rabbin. In Vatanya is a raya. She was accustomed to go running home to daddy, and she would stay there for quite a long period of time. And then when her husband died or divorces her, you know for sure they were not together because they were separated. Husband was angry at her, he's not living with her. The guy ended up in prison. Or he was old and he was incapable of living with her. He was sick. Or she was sick, or she miscarried. Now, after her husband died, she miscarried. Guys, if she miscarried after her husband died, you know for sure that while she wasn't pregnant. Or she was an akara, or old, a katana, or islandess, we know what that is. So all these cases where it's not possible to have been impregnated by her husband, good. So now it would make a lot of sense that our Mishnah's opinion that said all women have to wait 3 months would be the opinion of Rameya. Therefore, Machloikas Rameya and Rabbi Yossi, halacha like Rabbi Yossi, because nimuka imay. So the Mishnah is not expressing an opinion of a majority; it's expressing a stam of what? Stam Mishnah Rameya. It's explaining is Rameya. Yehuda, there's a guess Rabbi Yossi also. Rabbi Yehuda Matel Liores Linasemiyad, which is the same opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Rav Chia bar Abba, Chazaba Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yochanan had charata. He said the halacha is not like Rabbi Yossi. He said the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi that an arusa would also have to wait 3 months. Rabbi Yosef, if Rabbi Yochanan in fact had charata about his initial shot, what was forcing him to have charata? It wasn't our Mishnah. What was forcing him? It says Gemara Masnisim de Karma is the Mishnah that was learned in Keren B'Yavne. Chodave the Tanya. Rabbi Yishmael ben Rabbi Yochanan Brayka. Shamatim pi chachamim b'Keren B'Yavne. That again, they went to Yavne. They used to sit rows of like a keren, like a vineyard. They would sit. It was called Keren B'Yavne. Kulan tzrichim lahamtim. All women have to wait shleisha chadashim 3 months. So very good. So there you go. If the Keren B'Yavne said all women, including arusais, it's because of this that Rabbi Yochanan had charata by saying that Allah is Rabbi Yossi that an arusa that does not have to wait. Good. That's why I have charata. When you go up in front of Ravo, Romile, ask him the following stira. I guess he heard the first part, not the second part. That Harata. The Rabbi Yossi really say that the Rabbi Yochanan say that halacha is like Rabbi Yossi that an arusa does not have to wait. The Rabbi Yochanan halacha kistam Mishnah. The halacha is like the anonymous Mishnah. B'tnan kol anashim lo yinasu. All women should not marry. Lo yisarsu. In other words, our Mishnah, fellas, our Mishnah is explaining, has the lashon of a stam Mishnah. Rabbi Yochanan says the halacha kistam Mishnah. So here we have a problem. On one hand, he's paskening like Rabbi Yossi. Then arusa does not have to wait. The stam Mishnah says an arusa has to wait. Rabbi Yochanan himself says that halacha is like a stam Mishnah. So we have a stira in Rabbi Yochanan. If a stam Mishnah is saying you have to wait, and Rabbi Yochanan is saying you don't have to wait because the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, you have a stira in Rabbi Yochanan. You have a stira in Rabbi Yochanan. Says the Gemara. Okay, what would the teretz be? Amalei. So Rabbi Avo answered. The Ramil Chaha lechosh lekimche. Whoever asks you the stira is not looking at his buckwheats. It's a way that he didn't look into the sugya well. I guess that was one of his saying. Lechosh lekimche. Stam v'yachkach machloikasi. This is a case of stam v'yachkach machloikas. Guys, look back at our Mishnah. Look back at our Mishnah. Mem Aleph on Aleph. We have Yevamot, and then 3 lines down. The chain called Sharnashim Mayasarsul Linasu Ashi Shleish Chadashim Echad Besul Vechabulas Vechagush Vechagulas. There's your stam Mishnah. Rabbi Yudaima Nesuas Yisarsul Vechagush Nasu. Then we have Rabbi Yossi. This is not a stam Mishnah with no other opinion. It's a stam Mishnah, and then after the stam Mishnah, there's a machlokes. When does Rabbi Yochanan say that Allah is like a stam Mishnah? If it's a stam Mishnah without a machlokes, but if it's stam Mishnah with that is followed by machlokes, then the halacha is not like the stam Mishnah. So therefore, it's not a steer in Rabbi Yochanan at all. He can possibly like Rabbi Yossi and still hold of his rule that Stam Mishnah is the halacha is like a Stam Mishnah. Okay, so this is a rule in Klali HaPsak. So whoever asks you this kasha is not looking to the matter well, because Stam Yaakov Machloikasi main halacha kastam. Dam Rav Papa v'Item Rabbi Yochanan Machloikas v'Yakach Stam. If first the place is the Machloikas, guys, Rabbi brings the Machloikas. Stam, and then he brings an anonymous opinion. Why is he doing that? Rabbi is doing it to tell you that's the final say. halacha kistam. The halacha would be like that in Manas' opinion. That's why it got the final say. The stam got the final say. The halacha is like the stam. However, stam, like our Mishnah, first you had the stam opinion. The achakach machloikas, and then Rebbe was misad the machloikas afterwards. Ain't halacha kistam, right? Now that's the halacha is not like the stam. So, Mistamayich v'azal Rebbe Avohu, a katvei the Reb Nachum. Reb Avohu said his opinion was once walking with his shamish Reb Nachum Shamei, and he was lying on his shoulder. Monkid v'azal halacha minei. And Reb Nachum was asking questions of Reb Avohu and being malakid and gathering different halakhic opinions that Reb Avohu knew. So boy, he asked the following question: Machloikas, which we just stated. Machloikas v'akach stam mai. First the machloikas, and afterwards the stam. What's the halacha? Amalei halacha kistam. The halacha is like the stam mishnah. That's what Rebbe put a list. How about stam v'akach machloikas? Like we just said, Amalei ain't halacha kistam. What about Stamas Nisan u'Machloikas Brisa? The Mishnah is anonymous, but the Machloikas appears in a Brisa. My Amalei Halacha Kistam. The Mishnah wins out. How about Machloikas B'Mas Nisan u'B'Shas Brisa? The Machloikas in the Mishnah and the Stam is in the Brisa. My Amalei. So Rabbi Avoh told Rav Nachum, Rebbe, whose Talmud was Reb Chia, and Reb Chia was Masada the Mishnayos. So Rebbe, that was Masada the Mishnah, Leishana. If he didn't teach this brisa, Rabbi Yochanan Minayle, where did he know it from? So obviously, if Rebbe didn't put it in the Mishnah, the halacha is that the Mishnah takes precedence over the brisa. Thank you for listening. A good morning to everybody.
If you didn't count sphere, don't forget to count sphere.
If you didn't count sphere, don't forget to count sphere. Thank you, Baruch Ben Meir.